Oh, I don't have anybody do the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't have anybody do the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, okay. Excuse me, I would like to call this meeting to order. Shh. It's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. May I have roll call, please?
Mrs. Baker,
Here.
Mrs. Greenberg,
Here.
Mrs. Christensen,
Here.
Mrs. Case,
Here.
Mr. Pantera.
Here.
Next on the agenda, approval agenda. Dr. Bells.
Thank you, President Case, Governing Board members, Cabinet, and guests. Items approved by consent will not come up for discussion during the meeting, but will be approved when the agenda is adopted. This is possible since members of the Governing Board receive the agenda along with backup materials at least 24 hours prior to the meeting and have time to review and consider all items. Prior to the agenda being adopted, members of the Governing Board or audience may ask that an item be removed from the consent agenda and brought to the floor for discussion at the appropriate place on the agenda. I'd like to offer the agenda as posted with the following exception: delete item G11 and delete item H6.
Thank you. Does any member of the Governing Board wish to have an item removed from the consent agenda? Does any member of the audience wish to have an item removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none. Mrs. Christensen, may I have a motion to approve the meeting agenda and recommend consent agenda items?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is Governing Board statements. Mrs. Greenberg, may we start with you?
Certainly. As we head towards the end of the year, there's always many an event and play and performance, et cetera, to go to. I haven't been able to hit everything I'd like to, but this past week I joined several of our cabinet members and other folk at the PV School CTE signing day at Paradise Valley High School. And this is set up similar to when our student athletes sign their letters of intent for college, et cetera. And it's set up very similar to that. And these are students who are going on, I think all of them pretty much, with few exceptions, are going on to service in the military or going on to college, but in a proclaimed profession. And it was wonderful. We had, not everybody was able to make it, but the students who were there, you could see their dedication, and it just was a tremendous event. And I'm really pleased I was able to make it. And yesterday, I presume we're going to hear a little bit more about National Volunteer Week, but our VIP program, which is celebrating its 10-year anniversary this year, held its recognition event. It's yesterday, and it was not just fun to see all the volunteers and reconnect, but because of the 10-year event, the two founders, Lori Smith and Julie Bacon, were there, as was Dr. James Lee, because Dr. Lee was superintendent when VIP came into place. And it's incredible to see how much the program has grown. I'm guessing there's going to be more on that later, so I will not steal Dr. Bale's thunder. And I just want to say thank you. I don't think we've seen the room this full in quite some time. So welcome to everybody.
Mr. Pantero?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Good evening. This being Earth Day, Earth Week month, Earth Day is a couple days away. I been focusing on the schools I've been seeing this weekend with that in my mind. And I also thought about the schools I have visited and what we've seen in our district. And there's so much we do here to show that we're trying to be stewards of the earth and instill that with our students. We've got, simple things like carpool parking. We've got solar panels. Okay, all these schools I've been to either have or are planning to do gardens for the kids to grow and to see how they can give back to the earth. Over at Hidden Hills, even they have a flag. It's part of the Arizona Environmental Quality Program. So with the American flag and the state flag, there's a flag of the color of the environment, the air quality. You drive by, you know what kind of air you're breathing. This kind of thing's been instilled in students everywhere, even teachers when they get done with our district. A friend of mine, Diane Graziano, she adopted a street up here on Cave Creek, okay? And every now and then I go and help her and her group take care of that street and adopt a highway and make it clean and look nice and pick up the litter. Even the things that we do in our curriculum with the art, where they recycle art and do that, always instilling that look into the future, making your world better. Okay, not just for the environment, but how we help each other out. They're learning how to cooperate at the same time and do things together. Fills me with hope, and I really like that about our district. Oh, and by the way, if any of your groups are doing any kind of street cleanups within the boundaries of the district, give me a call. If I got the time, I'll put on my calendar. I'll just come and join you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Baker?
Thank you, President Case. Thank you to everyone who came to our meeting tonight. This is quite the packed house. Since our last meeting, I've been fortunate enough to go on some more school tours. They're always a highlight of my week. I love seeing the students learning and engaged. So thank you to all the principals who took time out of their day to show me around and answer my questions. I also got to attend the Dapstone presentation at Shadow Mountain, which was just incredible. The kids got to choose their own focus, and so it was really a passion project for each student, and just their creativity and their dedication to it, and their end results were just so incredible. I got to visit the PVA Prom Boutique, which is so amazing. They set it up like a store, so the kids feel like they're actually shopping with accessories and makeup, and it's just an incredible experience. They even cheer when each kid finds their like perfect prom ensemble. It's amazing. I do just want to mention one thing. As adults, we are supposed to model the behavior we want for our children and our students. We set high expectations for how children should speak to each other and how they speak to us as adults. We need to hold ourselves to those same expectations, and we need to set the example as the adults in the room. As a governing board member, I don't bring my children because sometimes they hear things that I don't want them to hear. But we do have other children here. This amazing artwork, we have so many kids for that. We have children here to watch their parents be promoted. We have kids getting awards and recognitions. And I just want to encourage everyone to use their positive voice. And even if you're voicing a genuine concern, you can do it with civility. And I just encourage everyone who comes up to remember who's listening, because our children and our students deserve to hear kind words and to have that modeled for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Christensen?
I just want to welcome everybody here today. And many of you will be happy to hear that I'm losing my voice, so mine is short. So welcome.
Thank you. I have a few comments. I also attended the VIP celebration for 10 years, and there were 7 the VIPs who had been volunteering for 10 years. That's every week, all through the pandemic and doing online, whatever. And it was so amazing. You walked in and there was just this positive energy, kind of like it is tonight in here. I love it when the kids help say the Pledge of Allegiance. It's just the best. But the fact that those people are volunteering their time week after week and making a difference. And then tonight on Channel 5, Esther Kovacs was honored on Channel 5. And it was so cool that she was honored for her service. And she doesn't just
serve herself, she's gotten a whole bunch of her friends to come be volunteers too. So the VIP program, if anybody's here, you might want to think about it. It's a great program, and it just helps children individually with math and with reading, whatever they need, so they can succeed in school, and that's what we're all about. I just have a few comments, and it's been on my mind a lot lately, and I've thought about it a lot, and it took me back to 8th grade. I graduated from Phoenix Elementary School down in Central Phoenix Public School, and in 8th grade, we used to have an 8th grade graduation. We sang "Let There Be Peace on Earth." That was the name of the song, and the words were, "Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me." And those words have just struck my heart. I remember singing them as a 13-year-old and thinking, "Oh, this is interesting." So I've really taken this to heart and been thinking, what can I do to make things better? And as Mrs. Baker said, we model for the students and our word choices and how we treat each other. And we can disagree with someone without being disagreeable. We can, but our words can be kind, and we can choose to be civil with each other. So I would just ask all of us that we are careful with our words and that we're mindful that we're setting examples for children. And I also want to say that when things are messy at school board meetings, it doesn't make teachers feel secure in their jobs, and that doesn't make the students feel secure as students. So how we act in our district affects the well-being and the progression of our students. So I would just ask that we're all a little bit more careful, and, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me, if you can kind of remember that. So thank you. And those are our comments tonight. Now I'll turn the time over to awards and recognitions to Dr. Bells.
Thank you, President Case, governing board members, cabinet, and guests. It's with my pleasure that we have multiple things to celebrate and highlight tonight as positive awards for staff and students. And we will begin with some student recognition. So at this time, I'm going to ask that the board stay here at the dais. And Mr. Droege will be our MC for this first part, recognizing the presentation of the permanent art collection.
Good evening, President Case, governing board members, members of cabinet, attendees both in person and virtual this evening. First, we'll kick off awards and recognitions with a presentation of the permanent art collection pieces. Presenting this honor is Director of Fine Arts, Maureen Minnick.
Before you start, may I just say, if your child is receiving, come up a little closer and take your picture. Don't be afraid. Take your child's picture. Thank you.
President Case, governing board members, Dr. Bales, cabinet, and guests. Art is one of the many ways in which students in PV schools show excellence. Not only does it foster creativity and critical thinking skills, it helps students express themselves in a variety of ways. Each year, the district makes a purchase of student artwork from the showcase held at the annual Sights and Sounds event, which took place this last March. These purchased pieces are professionally framed and added to the district permanent collection of artwork displayed throughout the district office and PV schools buildings. And the art that you see tonight will grace the walls behind you all of next year. Please join me and their parents, teachers, and principals who are here with them tonight in congratulating these talented young artists. Students, when I call your name, you'll come up, pick up your art, show your art to each of the board members. Please remember to turn around and share it with everybody else, and then we'll take a photo. You can put your art back and head back to your seat. And my assistant, Miss Monroe, is on hand in case we need any assistance and to present you with your monetary honorarium. First up, we have 4th grader Viviana Broker Vargas from Hidden Hills Elementary School.
Man.
And then stay right there, Viviana, and we're gonna have a photo
I
right.
like that.
Oh,
I want that one hanging behind me.
perfect.
Want that one?
Now everybody knows what to do, Viviana. Perfect. Next, we have Grayson Gappinger, a fourth grader from Boulder Creek Elementary School.
It's good enough to eat.
Next, we have Adriana Hernandez Romero, a fourth grader from Indian Bend Elementary School. Yeah, go ahead and walk around. There you go.
Cool.
Next, we have Micah Smith, a fifth grader from Campobello Elementary School.
Well done. Well done. Great. Nice. Oh, it's See how-
Next, we have Coco Emmons, an eighth grader in the North Valley Arts Academy's program from Shea Middle School.
Right on.
Next, we have Caitlin Martin, an eighth grader from Mountain Trail Middle School.
That detail. Oh. Scratch it off.
While Caitlin's getting her photo taken, I wanted to make mention that her original piece was actually damaged when we took it off the art panel, and she redid it in 2 days, which is amazing. Not able to be with us this evening, but we still want to recognize Jamie Prendeville, an eighth grader at Desert Shadows Middle School.
On the screen. It's Hey. Hey, wait a minute. Wipers.
Next, we have Maya Winburn, eighth grader from Desert Shadows Middle School. Next, we have Alyssa Pekarsky, a 10th grader from Paradise Valley High School.
Whoa, that's pretty intricate. Is that ink or is that ink shrine? Dig it.
Next, we have Tanya Mejia Sierra, an 11th grader from Paradise Valley High School.
I would like to know the medium that they used to do that. It's amazing.
Great. Also unable to be with us this evening is Cole Kelly, a 12th grader from North Canyon High School.
Mariposa. Oh, no, those are moths. You've got the shadow. The shadowing is the thing, right?
Last but not least, we have Marcelia Isho, a 12th grader from North Canyon High School.
Oh my God. Touch it. Look at that. A story. She's carrying a story.
Miss Isho's piece is clay, which she made in ceramics class.
Hmm.
Marcelia, hold on 1 second. Thank you.
A special shout out to Maureen and our art teachers across the district for just, let's give them a round of applause.
Yeah.
We have some truly wonderful, wonderful artists, and we are blessed with their work that will be part of our permanent collection. At this time, I'd like to invite the board down in front of the dais for the remaining recognitions.
Our next honoree did a stellar job and won first place at the Educators Rising State Conference back in March. She outperformed over 500 other high school students from around the valley and impressed judges with an unforgettable interview, resume, and proved herself as a future leader in education. Her dream is to be a teacher, middle school math, right here in Paradise. Learn more about this amazing student by listening to episode 4 of the New District podcast, PV Beat, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But please first help me welcome and congratulate from Pinnacle High School, Caroline Mann. As with many of our student achievements, they're supported by dedicated staff, so also a round of applause for advisor Karen Downs. With much effort and enthusiasm, PV Schools DECA students dominated at the state conference and are officially AZ DECA state champions. These students worked hard and prepared by attending after-school study sessions, taking practice exams, and participating in case study role play with their peers. It was a long journey to get there, but they completed the journey. Please hold your applause until I call all students up to the dais, and then a huge round of applause, please. From Horizon High School, Kira Leszczynski. From Pinnacle High School, Janhavi Mehta. Also from Pinnacle High School, Landon Stone, Sophia Salami, Vinay Sharm, Olivia Lubnow, Olivia Hirsch, London Green, and Alok Shah. Now is an appropriate time for a big round of applause. As mentioned, these students are supported by dedicated staff Cheryl Shea and Suzanne Marsola.
Kids. Pinnacle DECA does a great job, but I want to point out, I have 4 juniors there. Raise your hand. That was their first time in front of the board, and I'm extremely proud of that opportunity they've had this evening. But I have 4 seniors that have been before the board before, and I just need to recognize them. Okay, Sophia Salemi, this is her 3rd first place time in her years. Janavi Mehta, this is also her 3rd first place. Olivia Lubanow is also her 3rd first place. And before I say the next one, these 4 seniors have been in my program for all 4 years, have really grown with me, and I'm so proud of them. My last one is Alok Shah, and he has won 5 first places. Just had to.
Speaking of dedicated staff, next is the Paradise Valley Education Support Professional of the Month. PVSCA President Ms. Michelle Courtwright will make the presentation.
President Case, Governing Board, Dr. Bales and Cabinet. This is one of the highlights of my month. This month we are recognizing Nicole Woods. She is an administrative assistant at Horizon. And if any of you have ever had an administrative assistant, you know that they are the ones that really run the school. They are the reason that your spouse has flowers on their anniversary and you show up at the right sporting event or dance recital. They are the glue that holds everything together. And we have a large amount of letters here. And the words I see over and over again are kind, patient, hardworking. One of the people writes that Nicole is the heart and soul of Horizon. Every teacher and support member at Horizon knows that they can go to Nicole. She's there to help them with a kind heart, a listening ear, and a hug if needed. She's patient, kind, hardworking, and always willing to help. But most of all, Nicole is here for the students. To many students, she's affectionately known as Mama Woods. They know she is a safe and trusted adult for all students to go to, and they know she will listen and she will help to the best of her ability. Nicole is also a product of our district. She has never known another career except PV, and that's by choice. So it is with my honor that we present this to her this month. Nicole?
Our next recognition is the recipient of the Paradise Valley Education Association's Recognition of Professional Standards Award for Teachers. The honoree this evening will be introduced by Ms. Diane Siekman, PVEA President.
Good evening. It is my pleasure, or excuse me, my first time doing this. Good evening, President Case, Governing Board, Dr. Bales, and Cabinet. It is my pleasure to present the Props Award this evening to Toby Lewandowski. She is a sixth grade teacher at Hidden Hills Elementary, and she's also a 25-year employee with our district. She was nominated by her colleague, Frank Botelio, and here's what Frank wrote. I am nominating Toby because she is an example of teaching intelligence. Toby takes pride in knowing what building and district expectations are required and helps others get there as well. Her self-awareness and her self-management skills are top of the line. Many of the teachers in our building will seek her opinion on topics, knowing that she is a safe place to do so. Socially and professionally, she knows how to challenge you to be a better teacher or administrator and isn't afraid one bit to let you know when you have to do better. This is most evident in our staff, data, and committee meetings during the school year. She's a leader in our PLC group, and in her position as our building testing coordinator, she has and continues to volunteer her time outside of the school day at Shea Middle School and Shadow Mountain High School with both the PTSA and the Booster Club for the marching band and Matador football. One thing that has stuck with me was a discussion that I had with her and a desire to leave a positive legacy for her students. The what do I remember most question that past or present students and families might recall when thinking about Mrs. Lewandowski. Frank wrote, for me, the answer to that question is simple. It's the positive impact that her legacy has produced for my own children and my own professionalism alike. I'm so proud to present this award, and please join me in congratulating Toby Lewandowski. The best wave ever.
And that, President Case, concludes this evening's awards and recognitions.
Excuse me, next on the agenda, we're going to start with public comment. We're going to start with the public comment, and we'll start with the video. Is the video going?
Call to the Public is about to convene. This portion of today's meeting allows the public the opportunity to address the governing board. Although state law does not require that the governing board hold a call to the public, the Paradise Valley Unified School District and its board have chosen to do so because we believe it's important to hear about concerns and issues from our community. While Call to the Public is not designed to be a discussion, the board is here to listen. Due to Arizona open meeting law, the governing board cannot respond to, discuss, or take any action on items brought up during this time. However, staff members may be directed to get back to you and address individual concerns. As a reminder, the point of this and every board meeting is to accomplish the business at hand, and to be able to do so in an open and collaborative way. All in attendance are expected to observe meeting rules, as well as rules of politeness and decorum, so that we may serve as an example to our students that issues can be discussed in a respectful and civil manner.
Tonight, we have 5 people. Tonight, we have 5 people who have submitted comments cards prior to the start of the meeting. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for remarks. Those who have asked to speak on agenda items will be recognized at the appropriate time during the meeting. As a reminder, we ask that you please direct your comments to the board with civility. Please state your first and last name when you come to the podium. Our first speaker will be Summer Bagley, followed by Lily Gresham.
Good evening, President Case, Board, Cabinet, and fellow parents. I wanted to open a discussion this evening about something I think is on a lot of parents' minds these days with the recent shooting and just the continued risk that we face at schools for this. And Horn giving out grants for SROs, et cetera. I guess as I unpack it all, I have a lot of questions and I would like to follow up afterwards, of course, but I would like to just start the conversation of who makes the metrics for how many SROs are at each school? How is that determined? Is that you? Is that state? How does that work? Why do we have so little? I know there's a shortage in the police force in general, but why do we have so little at our schools? And how do we change that? How do we get more monies to fund that? And are we able to look into federal grants that would require or allow retired military, retired police officers who would, I would think, be very, on board with something like that to work at our schools? I feel like it's just something that's on my mind and everyone I speak to on their minds. I think we would like to know the details and how we just beef up real safety at our schools. So we're not sending our kids. I have 2 in public right now, my 2 oldest, and they do not feel safe. They know that they would be able to take care of themselves, but they don't feel safe. And it just breaks my heart. And I'm sure a lot of parents here, their children have brought that subject up when you discuss it at home, especially after the recent events. So just lots of questions. I feel like it's just hard to understand how we move forward and how we make that better. Recently, I did confirm, in addition to all the drugs that go on in our bathrooms at the high school, I can only really speak for the high school because that's where my 2 oldest go, so much drugs, so much. There's only so many bathrooms and they have to go to so many bathrooms just to be able to use one. And I just feel like that is just not acceptable. I just confirmed today before coming that an SRO walked in on 2 boys having sex in a bathroom. This is unacceptable. This is totally unacceptable. And why do we not have more eyes, SROs, whatever, in these bathrooms? This is just like a cesspool, and kids do not feel comfortable going to the bathroom. And that becomes a health problem if they're holding that, right, all day. So safety, health, all of the above. I just hope we can open the conversation and get somewhere and move forward with that. And I just appreciate the time. Thank you.
Ms. Bagley? Summer? I'll have you connect with Dr. Osmussen. Chris, if you'll raise your hand, if you'll connect with her, he'll be able to answer a lot of your questions and follow up with you with contact information. And just as a point of clarification, we do have 14 SROs in the most recent ADE grant award. We account for 10% of the state grant. And so we continue to lead, but we're always looking for other opportunities, but he'll be able to answer, follow up with that.
Next is Lily Grisham, followed by Raquel Cantaessi.
Hi, my name is Lily Gresham. Thank you. How many people consider themselves woke? Is that a bad thing? Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines woke as aware and of and actively attentive to important societal facts and issues, especially of racial and social justice. Cambridge English Dictionary defines woke meaning aware, especially of social problems such as racism and inequality. So woke is not a bad thing. Education is not just about learning of facts, but also the training of the mind to think, according to Albert Einstein. There are some laws or bills that are going through our legislature, such as the drag show bill, that would criminalize drag in the presence of a minor. The bill actually defines drag as singing and dancing while wearing makeup. And the punishment is a maximum of 15 years in prison and requires sex offender registration. I wonder if that would include taking your kid to the movies. I think we've all enjoyed drag shows. We've all watched Tootsie, Mrs. Doubtfire, Medea, Bosom Buddies, Big Mama's House. So let's not all kid ourselves and make drag shows or LGBTQ people out to be the boogeyman. The primary function of education is to teach our students how to think for themselves. And the best way to protect our kids is to educate them. Banning and censoring books is not about protecting kids. It's about restricting information simply because someone doesn't like the ideas. And it should be deeply disturbing how much time our lawmakers, people that are being paid to represent a community, are spending on defining specific sexual acts, people's identities, sexualizing body parts. This is far more disturbing and distasteful than any LGBTQ book found in any children's collection in any school library. And through all of recorded history, no child has ever picked up a loaded book and killed their little sister or their little brother or shot their teacher in the face with it. And there are many new proposals and laws that outlaw intellectual freedom, criminalize library workers and educators just for providing queer and or diverse literature to their communities. And to make being queer or a person of color more difficult than it already is. And if a parent feels uncomfortable, that's a really low bar.
Rachel, followed by Jennifer Ariza.
Good evening. My name is Raquel Cantaessi. Thank you so much for taking the time and giving us the opportunity to express some of our concerns or excitements or whatever it may be. Unfortunately, tonight, I'm here to talk about, I'm a parent of a PVUSD students. My last student is a senior at Horizon High School, and I'd like to address a rather alarming and shocking content that's occurring at our school, and particularly in my student's classroom that just happened a few weeks ago. As you know, our English teacher resigned after she was placed on leave for what the school called a lapse of judgment. That email went out to parents of students in her class, which includes my child, and that students had read a passage with inappropriate language or content. The truth is that that wasn't exactly what had occurred. I'm sure you guys know that there was a worksheet that was passed out to the students um, that had students answering all kinds of sexuality, gender questions, including the questions that asked our students what kinds of things turn them on and what do they climax to. Let that sink in. In our high school, minor students were asked what turns them on sexually and what brings them orgasm. I'm asking you, in what planet is this ever appropriate? It's just grossly inappropriate. It should not be occurring in our classrooms. This is English. I don't care what the subject is. That's never appropriate in our schools. Um, it's out of bounds. The lack of professionalism, it really challenged emotional safety for the students. It was a little disturbing that the students were bothered, but what was even more disturbing was that, okay, let's flip on to the next class because this is not completely unusual. And I think that fact alone was a bit shocking to me that yes, this stuff occurs and they're not told, our students are not totally shocked that this is happening, but this particular worksheet went beyond. This is not the first incident at Horizon with grossly inappropriate sexual content and behavior that's been tolerated. It's been ignored until more light shone on these problematic areas. You know, just last year we lost the AP English teacher for the controversial book that included descriptions of rape, abortion, self-harm, and hints at bestiality. In the same year, one of our math teachers was immediately let go once the fervor of what all the students knew was happening.
Next is Jennifer Ariza, followed by Emily Wagner.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Riza. I want to say thank you to each of you for the time that you put into your positions. I also want to thank you for your professionalism and how you conduct yourselves in these board meetings. It's top notch because I've witnessed some other school board meetings. So for that, I really thank you too for keeping it professional. I also want to say it's very encouraging to see how you recognize all of the students and staff achievements. I stand here tonight as a concerned parent in the Paradise Valley School District, and I do appreciate the opportunity to speak. My concern as a parent in the district is the education and welfare of the students. As I stand here tonight, I want to declare that pornography should not be allowed in our schools. I am hopeful that 2023 will be the year that we as a community take a stand against approving any additional sexualized and pornographic material for our schools. Our community is very concerned about this and about the sexualization of our students, particularly as it is being pushed to lower and lower grades. I want to ask each of our board members if you have researched the effects of pornography on children. If not, I encourage you to do so. You can take a look at organizations such as OUR, it's Operation Underground Railroad, or the Nazarene Fund. They have a lot of information. And I'm very concerned because pornography is used to train and desensitize people, and it increases the demand for human trafficking. Porn users often seek to act out what they've seen or read in pornography. And porn users demand a constant stream of new, increasingly violent and fetishized content. In order to keep up with this demand, more women and children become prostituted and trafficked. Have anybody on the board ever known somebody who's been a victim of human trafficking? Do you know that Arizona is home to the largest human sex trafficking recovery program and that we are taking elementary age children into this program? I wanted to highlight this for you and ask each of you to consider if increasing the sexualization materials in our schools is helping to protect our students, or is it something that we should consider not doing starting in 2023? In this world, there are protectors of children and there are predators of children. As a member of the board, I ask each of you, how will you be remembered? I would encourage you to give this serious thought as you review material to approve this year. Thank you.
Emily Wagner.
Hello, my name is Emily Wagner. In light of the 2023-2024 teacher contract negotiations, I fear we have lost our financial focus. When it comes to the district's pet projects, unnecessary curriculum changes, facility upgrades, travel, and other boondoggles, the money somehow always seems to materialize. Yet teachers continue to get the short end of the stick. That stick dangles a carrot every election year in the form of yet another bond and override. And the voters approve the monies every time. Yet somehow the teachers are never granted the pay increase they so desperately deserve. Low teacher pay is always used as a get out the vote talking point. Yet in the end, the piper leading the voters to the polls never pays out what he promises. I want the teachers and support staff in this room or listening online to know that we, the parents and voters in PVUSD, fully support a pay increase commensurate with the values and strategic goals claimed by the district. In 2022, we had a special election where PVUSD voters approved a 15% M&O budget override. In the information pamphlet distributed to voters on page 3, which you can find online, it was promised approving that ballot measure was critical to provide competitive salaries to retain and attract highly qualified teachers and staff. The voters already did their part. Now please do yours and stop shorting teachers' pay. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, Dr. Bells.
Thank you, President Case, Governing Board members, Cabinet, and guests. In tonight's mission moment, a reminder that in PV schools we engage, inspire, and nurture students through high-quality instruction, meaningful educational opportunities, and dynamic learning experiences. Those experiences include a variety of different journeys of excellence. And for example, the PV robotics team and district band and orchestra students who are embarking on travel this week that honors their dedication to well-rounded education. The Paradise Valley High School robotics team, Team Paradise, after an impressive regional win, traveled to Houston, Texas. They are there right now, where they're competing in the 2023 First Robotics World Championship competition. It's not just Houston, though, that PV Schools is showing up at. 150 band and orchestra students from four of our 5 high schools made their way to New York City. They're there right now. And their trip includes a clinic with a world-renowned conductor who works with the New York Philharmonic youth programs. And they will also be performing a concert on Friday afternoon at the Church of the Incarnation, a historical landmark on the National Register of Historic Places, right down the street from the Empire State Building. Let's give those students a warm welcome. Congratulations. Bus Driver Appreciation Day, April 25th, just coming up. Let us take a moment to thank the PV Schools bus drivers for all that they do. PV Schools bus drivers are the unsung heroes of our everyday lives, and they work early in the morning, late into the evening, on weekends to ensure that our students arrive at school, extracurricular events safely and on time. And furthermore, each driver undergoes extensive training in safety procedures, first aid, and emergency response to prepare them for any situation that may arise on the road. Their dedication and commitment to safety make them an essential part of our school community. I think it's around 6,500 miles a day they drive, and we have a little over 50, almost 60 drivers in the district, but we do need more heroes to help transport our kids. So if you're interested, please join our team. Let's give our bus drivers a round of appreciation. I too had the opportunity to visit Shadow Mountain High School recently at their Digital Academy Advanced Placement Scholars as they showcased their capstone projects. And during that celebration, I was thoroughly impressed. I walked in and listened to one young man talk about the growth mindset. And he had props and he was so engaged and enthusiastic. And I walked over to Principal Appleman. I said, I think that young man's going to be a TED speaker sensation. He's going to go viral. Well, he reminded me that he's also a Flynn Scholar. It illustrated the importance of programs like DAPS in preparing students for success in college and beyond. So congratulations to the Shadow Mountain DAPS seniors on their amazing achievements. As Mrs. Greenberg pointed out, we had a CTE signing day. Here's the goal to empower every learner for a lifetime of success. And I'm very proud of the great success stories within our district that have come from CTE programs. That's career and technical education programs. And so as a way to honor them, we were so proud to host this 10th annual signing day. Second year in PV, I might add. But this special day is meant to emphasize the importance of students who are signing a letter of intent and making a commitment to a career in technical education. And one of the young men that was up here earlier being recognized was very proudly, I don't see him if he's still here, very proudly carried his University of Texas hat up to the table, signed and put his hat on because that's where he's headed. So it was fun. State Science and Engineering Fair. Finley Allen, Caroline Beatty, sixth graders from Greyhawk Elementary made waves at the Paradise Valley Junior Science and Engineering Fair with their impressive project, Plants and Light. Their hard work and dedication paid off as they won first place in the plant sciences category. These impressive students went on to earn third place at the state competition. And this dynamic duo is an inspiration to students and young scientists throughout our district. Congratulations, Finley and Caroline. Horizon Winter Guard has earned a reputation as an outstanding and innovative group. With their incredible displays of talent and technical skill, they have mesmerized audiences and impressed judges alike. On April 1st, the Horizon Pride Regiment once again made a tremendous impact on the exciting and dynamic world of Winter Guard by placing first Arizona State Championship. Congratulations, Huskies, and keep up the great work. Summer school. I know it's hard to believe 5 weeks from today is the last day of school for this academic year, but summer school is a great opportunity for students to get ahead in their academic journey. And whether students need to make up credits, get ahead, or dive deeper into their favorite subjects, summer school can offer some unparalleled opportunities. And with PV Online, students can complete the work anywhere. This summer, 9th through 12th graders have the opportunity to take a free PV Online summer school course, earning another half a credit for a 6-week class. Registration has begun and sign up through Infinite Campus. For more information, contact your school counselor as well. I'd also like to recognize Jalen Wilson. She's a student at Horizon High School. She's a senior, and she was named the 2023 Boys and Girls Club of Greater Scottsdale Youth of the Year. Congratulations, Jalen. As the Youth of the Year, Jalen was awarded $25,000 in post-secondary education scholarship funds, which will help her pursue her dream of attending Arizona State University. Her dedication to achieving goals, commitment to making and positive impact, and exemplary character are hallmarks of this true leader. Jalen, thank you for being an inspiration to others. All right, and we have mentioned the wonderful volunteers and the Volunteer in Paradise program that we have, award-winning, stellar. program, and I am so happy to be a part of celebrating their 10-year work. To the founders, Julie Bacon, Lori Smith, and James Lee, I am so happy that Marisha and Linda continue to lead this wonderful, wonderful program. And we have a goal of getting 1,000 volunteers, and we're on our way to do that. So if you know people that want to join us, please do so. That's a great way to give back, and this is our National Volunteer Week. And so it cultivates and respects meaningful relationships. I know our volunteers frequently tell me that they get more out of it than they think the kids are getting from them, but it's amazing reciprocation. So I'd like to take the opportunity to show a brief celebration of this very important program that recognizes our volunteers. We'll watch just half of it, and the rest you can see online. So let's roll the video.
We're so happy to be celebrating the 10th anniversary of Volunteer in Paradise. Volunteer in Paradise is really a unique program. We started in 2 schools in 2013-14, and this year we are in 28 schools. We're so excited to be able to celebrate this program.
For many years, we knew that community members wanted to volunteer in our schools. And my friend and co-founder of Volunteer in Paradise, Lori Smith, had moved to the East Coast and gotten involved in some volunteer programs there. And when they moved back to Arizona, she called me one day and said, I really think we can do something about volunteers in the school district. What do you think? And I was like, let's go, let's do it. And so that was really one of the inspirations was, let's get people in the community who are really committed to our students, get them in classrooms, helping out students and helping out teachers.
It was our school in North Ranch at the time, and we were very excited to pilot it. So to be able to have people who, had been out in the workforce or had been teaching and were willing to come, it just sounded like a great thing to do and to be a part of. And then we were going to reap the benefits.
When I joined about 5 years ago as volunteer coordinator, we had about 70 volunteers. We're now closer in the range of about 150 volunteers.
Before I became a VIP, I had taught school for 30 years, retired after public education, teaching in K-5, and after I was done and retired, I just needed more.
And I have to say, and this is the tip of the hat to Paradise Valley and how they do it, no one has anything close to putting volunteers together in a place that they can be useful than the VIP program at Paradise Valley. It's tremendous.
They are well-trained volunteers. They get training prior to starting in classrooms.
The cornerstone of our program is really focused on training them so they can be prepared and confident once they reach the classroom.
The impact she has on the classroom is she really helps improve our classroom family. She brings in so much love and outside experience. She is not a teacher by trade, but over the 4 years I've had her, she's turned into a teacher, and it's really been awesome to see how she's helped my students grow.
You know, working with students, the emotional pieces are just tremendous, right? You work with them for a year, an entire school year, or you work with small groups. Some students I've worked with for 2 years. So you really form these bonds, you get to know them, you become invested in them.
In 2013-14, we also launched Volunteer in Paradise with a program called College Corps. We partnered with Paradise Valley Community College. It's a great program and a great way to get young college students excited and interested in education as a career, to become a teacher.
I want to extend a special thank you to our VIPs. You make such a positive impact on student achievement, our school community, and our district. Thank you for giving generously of your time and effort. We appreciate you.
Let's give our VIPs a round of applause. And concluding my comments tonight, I'd like to encourage our community to connect with PV Schools on social media. Support student success by liking, commenting, and sharing all the great things that put Paradise in PV Schools. And you can find PV Schools on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Those conclude my comments tonight. President Case.
Thank you. So we had put some things that were on the consent agenda to the items for approval, and then we pulled them today because some information was lacking. So the one I'm speaking about is G11. G11 had been put on the consent agenda, and we're not going to do that tonight. There was someone who was going to comment on that, but we're not going to talk about G11 tonight. The other one is H6, the traffic easement on 40th Street. We're not going to talk about that tonight either. There were some hangups in the paperwork with the city. So those two things we're not going to do. So next on the agenda, Dr. Bales, items for approval.
Thank you, President Case, governing board members, cabinet and guests. Tonight, we present for approval recommendations for 7 candidates for new leadership roles. We are excited about the mix of both internal and external people stepping up for the next level of leadership. Dr. Holmes, would you please lead us?
Thank you, Dr. Bales. Madam President, members of the board, Mark Smith is currently the assistant principal at Campobello and Fireside Elementary Schools with 16 years of experience in education, including 7 years in leadership. He earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in elementary education from NAU and his Master of Arts degree in educational leadership also from NAU. If approved, he will receive salary and benefits in accordance with the PVP bargaining agreement. We recommend you approve Mr. Smith to be the next principal at Desert Cove Elementary School.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Sorry, we're taking care of some paperwork up here. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Mr. Smith.
Is there family here? Do you have family you'd like to introduce? Or? Oh, okay. Oh, how wonderful. Congratulations.
Next up, Jacqueline Woods is currently the teacher on assignment at Hidden Hills Elementary School with 22 years of experience in education, including 4 in leadership. She earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology from the University of Colorado and her Master of Arts degree in educational leadership from the American College of Education. If approved, she will receive salary and benefits in accordance with the PVP bargaining agreement. We recommend you approve Ms. Woods to be the next principal at Hidden Hills Elementary School.
May I have a motion to approve the recommendation to hire Jacqueline Woods for the position of principal of Hidden Hills Elementary School as presented?
So moved.
Any board members wishing to make a comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Ms. Woods.
Do you have family here? Okay, introduce whoever you'd like. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Next up, Emma Ortiz is currently the interim principal at Pueblo del Sol K-8 in Isaac School District with 26 years of experience in public education, including 6 in leadership roles. And this is a homecoming for Emma, as she formerly taught at Palomino Intermediate. She earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in elementary education from Northeastern Illinois University, a Master of Arts degree in bilingual education from NAU, and her Master of Arts degree in leadership from Concordia University. If approved, she will receive salary and benefits in accordance with PVP bargaining agreement. And we recommend that you approve Ms. Ortiz to be the next principal at Sunset Canyon Elementary School.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the recommendation to hire Emma Ortiz for the position of principal at Sunset Canyon Elementary School as presented?
So moved.
Any board members wishing to make a comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Ms. Ortiz.
Do you have any family to present to us? Oh. Thank you so much. We're so happy to have you in our district. Okay.
Oh, yes, I'm not done.
I know you're not.
I got plenty to go. Rebecca Rodriguez is currently an administrative intern at Whispering Wind Academy and Larkspur Elementary School with 24 years of experience in education, including 14 in leadership roles. She earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in elementary education from Ottawa University and her Master of Arts degree in educational leadership from NAU. If approved, she will receive salary and benefits in accordance with the PVP bargaining agreement. We recommend you approve Ms. Rodriguez to be the next principal at Whispering Wind Academy.
Any board members wishing to make a comment? All those in favor say, oh, excuse me. May I have a motion to approve the recommendation to hire Rebecca Rodriguez for the position of principal of Whispering Wind Academy as presented?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Ms. Rodriguez.
Do you have family to introduce? Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Katrina Deek is currently the principal at Eagle Ridge Elementary School with 26 years of experience in education, including 7 in leadership roles. She earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in elementary education from NAU and a Master of Arts degree in educational studies from Mary Grove College in Detroit. If approved, she will receive salary and benefits in accordance with the COA bargaining agreement, and we recommend you approve Ms. Deek to be the Project Momentum Coordinator.
May I have a motion to approve the recommendation to hire Katrina Deek for the position of Coordinator of Project Momentum as presented?
So moved.
Any board members wishing to make a comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Ms. Deek.
Do you have family here with you? Congratulations.
Melissa Molzon is currently the principal at North Canyon High School, 20 years experience in education, including 12 leadership roles. She earned her Bachelor of Science degree in elementary education from ASU and her Master of Arts degree in educational leadership from NAU. If approved, she will receive salary and benefits in accordance with the COA bargaining agreement, and we recommend you approve Ms. Molzon to be the next Director of Career and Technical Education.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the recommendation to hire Melissa Molzon for the position of Director of Career and Technical Education, known as CTE, as presented?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Ms. Molzon.
Congratulations. Do you have family here to introduce? Thank you. Welcome to your new position.
Last but not least, Jean Copen is currently the Director of Assessment with 27 years experience in education, including 18 in leadership roles. She earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in English as a second language from ASU and her Master of Arts degree in Educational Administration, also from ASU. If approved, she will receive salary and benefits in accordance with the Cabinet Bargaining Agreement, and we recommend you approve Ms. Copen to be the next Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the recommendation to hire Jean Copeland for the position of Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction as presented?
So moved.
Any board member wishing to make a comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Ms. Copen.
Congratulations.
President Case, I'm just really thrilled to welcome Jean to the cabinet level. She has demonstrated excellence. You've seen her present on data most recently in this role as a director of assessment, and I think she's going to help us get to the next level again. So really excited about having her join our team.
Can't agree more. Do you have anyone to introduce? Oh, congratulations. Okay, so we're next on the agenda, Dr. Bells.
Item H2, consideration approval of changes or and/or additions to the contracts for continuing probationary teachers, ESP, ESS, ESP exempt principals and administrators for the 23-24 school year. You have some public cards.
Yes, we have a public card, Lily Gresham.
Yeah, she said, yeah, she is.
But
Lily, was that a no? Thank you.
Okay.
So with that, just Dr. Holmes will frame this for us. These are the templates that have the language for all employees. Later in the agenda, there's an item for approval regarding the content that would be filled in. So these are the templates that have been reviewed by legal counsel. I hope I didn't take too much of your thunder, but Dr. Holmes, would you please tell us a little bit about the contract templates?
Thank you, Dr. Bales. Madam President, members of the board, we have for your consideration employment contracts for the 2023-2024 school year. Other than date changes, the contracts are the same as this current year with the following three exceptions. A section has been added to establish that the contracts are subject to federal and state law as well as district policies, rules, and regulations. A section has been added to the specifically to the two certified contracts, requiring teachers to maintain a good standing if they are in a teacher preparation program. And finally, contingency language has changed this year to reflect that if additional monies are provided by the state, the first priority will be to eliminate furlough days. And the trigger language for one-time payouts based on budget balance carry forward is reduced to 14% from 15%. I have reviewed these changes with the association presidents, and we recommend your approval.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the changes and/or additions to the contracts for continuing probationary certified teachers, ESP, ESS, ESP exempt principals and administration for the 2023-24 as presented?
So moved.
Does any board member wish to make a comment?
This is just a template, right? It can be changed as far as the numbers are going to be plugged in based on other things down below, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments?
I would like to make a comment. What we value, we put time and money into things we value. And I know that we've had a few years that are a little bit, we've been struggling financially, but I hope that in the future we can really take a look at maybe cutting out other things and really give teachers and staff a significant increase, whether they be stipends or salary. I know it's tough. I know it's tough out there. But a lot of the things that when we have discussions and we're talking about bonds and overrides and things like that, sometimes I don't always vote with the board. And I think in times like this, we have to make some tough decisions on financial items and just be fully transparent and really put our money where we value things like safety for teachers and children and teacher pay, the bathroom updates that are not just put a new mirror in, that will make safe bathrooms for all our children, regardless of, their gender or race or whatever. I just, I know we're not making a decision on those things right now, but it's been on my heart that we really need to have some serious discussions in the future on how we can make salaries more competitive in our district.
Any other comments? As we've had to make hard decisions this past 8 months or 10 months since we found out about the 14 million, the reason I'm on the board is because I've had these most wonderful teachers in my children's lives. That's the reason I'm on the board. And teachers are near and dear to me, and I want to make sure that we do the best we can. I'm sure hoping that this legislature gives us more money that we change. And by the way, we can't pay teachers with bond money. I just want to remind everyone with that. There's different buckets for different things, and again, that's against the law in Arizona. They have statutes that we are bound to follow. And so we try to make things, and we do things like put solar panels up so that the money that comes out of M&O, we have less electricity bills. They're not for show, they're not for shade. They are so that we have more monies for teachers. And I know through the years they've regulated the water when they water the grass, so we spend less on watering grass, so we have more money for teachers. And that is where my heart is, and I hope that we can do things the best we can. And I'm not saying this has been an easy process for anyone, but I appreciate teachers and all the support groups for education in our district more than I can say. Are there any other comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions?
I vote aye.
Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Number 3, Dr. Bells.
President Case, governing board members, cabinet guests, and tonight we present for approval the performance-based pay plan for certified teacher bargaining group 1 for the 23-24 school year. Dr. Holmes.
Thank you, Dr. Bales. Madam President, members of the board, we have for your consideration the 2023-2024 performance-based plan, pay plan. There are no changes other than dates, clarifying language cleanup, and the new addenda, which will be $4,925. The plan connects performance pay to teacher engagement and professional learning communities, and we recommend your approval.
Thank you. We have one public comment. Lily Grisham, did you want to make a comment? Okay. May I have a motion to approve the 2023 performance-based pay plan as presented?
So moved.
Does any board member wish to make a comment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All, uh, all those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. We're on 4, consideration approval of changes and or additions to the bargaining agreements. Dr. Bells. Do I do the cards? Yes, I have. 3.
So President Case, governing board members, cabinet guests, tonight we do present for approval bargaining agreements for our 6 employee groups. It has not been an easy year financially for the district. In June of last year, we talked at the board meeting publicly about a budget shortfall, and I accepted responsibility for a former employee's coding mistake. And those monies were not spent frivolously. They were spent on people, and they were spent on raises each of the last 3 years. And that's evident in the ABC 15 report that gave credit to the district for having the most dollars spent in the classroom. How does that happen? Because we spent more money in the classroom, direct classroom support, than we probably should have. We should have started these cuts 3 years ago, and we didn't. It's not been easy for anybody. When we acknowledged that error, we worked with the voices of our stakeholders through the summer through a budget task force. And in November, we presented some recommendations. We added a cabinet thought for consideration. And in December, the board made a decision after listening to stakeholders. That was not an easy decision either. Because of the voices, some of the decisions were not completely made at that time to resolve the issue. There was a request and an interest by stakeholder leaders to take that conversation to the bargaining process this spring. That has happened. And in PV, we really value our stakeholder input. We value the interest-based negotiation process. It is not easy either. Hindsight's 2020. But when we look at the values that we have to collaboration and consensus, the bargaining teams sat down in good faith. They brainstormed ideas. They made recommendations. They discussed, they evaluated, they came to consensus, and they sent their plans to their membership for ratification. And for 2 of the 6 bargaining groups, that's an official voting process. And I know that we have some people that will speak on that. None of this is easy, but I value the process and honor the process. And while maybe the outcome isn't what everybody wants, the process is what we want, because we do sit down, we do listen, and nowhere better in this state does that happen in PV. And so with that, we will ask Dr. Holmes to provide some short summaries to each of the present recommendations for bargaining agreements, and then we would ask that you vote on those separately.
Thank you.
Do you want to read the card?
Let's have him go first.
Madam President, members of the board, we have for your consideration this evening the 2023-2024 Paradise Valley Education Association Certified Bargaining Agreement. Changes are reflected in the memorandums of agreement and were developed through the interest-based negotiations process. Additionally, language cleanup such as dates and minor clarifications are highlighted throughout the agreement. PVA members have ratified the agreement. We recommend your approval.
Thank you. We have some cards on H4. The first one will be Michelle Lovett, followed by Michelle Cartwright. H4.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Lovett, and I'm a pre-K teacher in this district. I'm here tonight to ask you to vote no on the bargaining agreement and ask you to go back to the table. I am a proud PVA member and I am one that voted no to ratify, and I would like to explain why. If you remember Red for Ed and the 20 by 20, I was one of those teachers who did not receive the first installment of that money because of the way the state considered my role in the schools. When this happened, I felt not valued, I was angry, and I was looking at changing positions because I was not going to stay in a position that was not going to get raises and was not going to be treated the same. What makes a school function is each person in it with different roles. One doesn't work with the other without the other. One person's job is not more important than the other. It works because of each of us. With that said, the school board, this cabinet, and PVA changed the language during Red for Ed to make sure that this would not happen again. They made sure that any new money from the state would go to each person in the district because each of us were valued. With this bargaining agreement, we are now asking only certain groups in our district to take 2 additional furlough days. This is not who we are. We are not a district that targets certain groups to receive less. If these groups are feeling the way I felt during Red for Ed, I can promise you they are feeling angry, not valued, and are going to be looking for new positions because they feel that they will always be on the chopping block. This is not who we are. We are supposed to be a district of equity. Please vote no and send us back to the table. Thank you.
Next, Michelle Cartwright, followed by Diane Siekman.
My name is Michelle Courtwright, and I speak for the ESP Group, the Paradise Valley Support Employee Association. President Case, Governing Board, Dr. Bells, and Cabinet, I would like to thank the board for allowing ESPs a seat at the table. This is not the norm in many districts, but collaboration is part of the culture in PV. I also need to thank my members, because without them, there is no one to sit at the table and be their voice. And I appreciate the fact that they trusted our team and ratified our agreement. And I'm asking you to do the same thing. I need to thank both the PVSEA team and the district bargaining teams for their time and effort. Budget cuts are never easy, nor are they taken lightly. And we did have employees that were directly impacted by these cuts. We're fortunate to have bargain language that assisted many of these employees in finding new positions in our transfer process. That wasn't the case for all of them. Some are not returning next year, and a few took substantial pay cuts. But for our group, the bigger picture is that we were able to minimize the impact for thousands of our employees. Many of our people took very little hits in this, and that's because of the work that we did at that table. We increased tuition and reimbursement. We added new opportunities for increased compensation to our pay chart. This gives employees opportunities to add money to their paychecks. I'm aware that this does not address the main issue that ESPs have, and that's compensation or lack of it. But that's why we have contingency language. There was a word that we kind of bantered back and forth, but it wasn't a die on the hill word for us because I trust this board to always do what is fiscally responsible and in the best interest of our employees. For now, contingency language is just words on a paper, but I believe the governor and the legislators will come together and increase funds for public education. We have strong contingency language that allows those funds to be used for employee compensation. And although we don't know if it's ongoing or one time, it's my hope that when they figure it out downtown, this board will give direction for us to come together and get as much of those funds into the hands of our employees so that we can continue to retain and recruit the best employees of the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane Siekman.
Good evening, President Case, Governing Board, Dr. Bales, and Cabinet. My name is Diane Siekman, and I am here as the president of the Paradise Valley Education Association. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. PVA would like to thank the board and the district for providing the opportunity to participate in interest-based negotiations again this year. The long history of this process is a hallmark of this district and one that we do not take for granted. We ratified our agreement this year at 57%. This is much lower than in previous years, even with a record number of members voting. During bargaining, the decisions made for the consensus agreement were very difficult, and all options were considered. There was nothing easy about this year. I acknowledge that 43% of our voting members are upset with this outcome. Some members of the certified group have clearly expressed to me they don't know if they can continue to afford to teach or if they want to continue in this district. It is heartbreaking to hear from people that love their jobs, their schools, and this district. And I do understand their need to make the certain decisions so that they are able to provide for their families. While faced with challenges this year, we were able to find some solutions to support employees to lessen the impact of inflation and budget reductions. Another positive component of this year's agreement is contingency language that will be enacted if additional funding is provided from the state. We acknowledge that the lack of funding from the legislature continues to affect our ability to provide additional compensation and improved working conditions for everyone. There is a multi-billion-dollar surplus at the state, and yet our schools remain underfunded. My belief is that the legislature will finally agree to additional funding to schools to move us closer to be fully funded, so that we will be able to remove the reductions in this agreement and provide additional compensation to the amazing educators in our district. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Case, governing board members, cabinet guests, just a couple points of clarification as well. I wanted to emphasize and thank our speakers. When I mentioned earlier that we provided raises, over the last 3 years, those were tough decisions too, but I'm glad that we did it, and it's never enough. Sadly, we are making decisions on a budget next year, and the proposed budget that you'll see a revision on May 18th for this year's budget, and May 4th, I'm sorry, and then a proposed budget on June 1st is predicated on the assumption of only 2% inflation from the state. You and I both know that that's not our reality. That is not our reality. Even in the latest CPI numbers, it's running around almost 6%, but we felt it harder than that. And I look at the gas prices right down the road here at $5 a gallon. It's outrageous. And to Michelle's point, Diane's point, there is $2.5 billion, that's a B, $1 billion surplus available for one-time money at the state. That is a lot of money. They can, and I do believe, I'm maybe a little Pollyanna here, but I do believe they're going to do a little bit better. And I want you to know that the contingency language is solid. The very first item on that is restoring furlough days. And the very first furlough days will be the groups that have the third and fourth day. As the money, if it comes in greater than that, then we'll get down to moving everybody from 2 to 1 and 1 to 0. That's clearly been committed, discussed with leadership. The language is there, it's solid. And I do believe it's going to happen. It might not be until June 31st. Yes, I said 31st because they sometimes take the clock off the wall until they get it done. But we can influence that voice down at the legislature, and we have to continue because 2% from the legislature is not sufficient. We budgeted for 5% on utilities, right? And we have other expenses that are going up as well. So, when I talk about the enrollment in the district, our kindergarten through 6th grade cohorts are running around 1,800 plus or minus students per grade level. Our 9th through 12th are running around 2,300. So just on the promoted enrollment, there's a difference in our total enrollment when we do that. That's fewer students just on promoted enrollment. It has an impact on budget. And so I know there are still difficult decisions yet to make. We're still going to have some difficult decisions to make. But I believe we're going to continue to put the dollars in the classroom and work on building our compensation to be competitive for recruiting and retaining. And so we do recommend approval.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the changes and/or additions to the certified bargaining agreement for the 2023-24 as presented?
So moved.
Are there any board members wishing to make a comment?
I would.
Okay.
A year ago, I was a gifted specialist sitting out there. Okay. I remember 2007 to 2009, the Great Recession, that really hit districts hard. Remember that? Yeah. And we made cuts. We made sacrifices. It was district-wide. Everybody the same. Every committee, every department had to do something to make it. But everybody took a hit. And gifted, it was a change of their class ratios. And when things started getting better, and we got through the recession, some of these sacrifices were reinstated, came back. What didn't come back was the ratio for gifted class sizes. That stayed the same. I can't tell you as a specialist how many times we're passed over this time or that time at faculty meetings, at events. We forgot the gifted teacher. We forgot the math specialist, forgot the reading specialist. This tiered furlough idea does not sit with me. Our specialists take the same training, we have the same education, they are teachers. And I would really like to see if we could, and I value this process. This is the process right now, me speaking to you, and you all listening. You all worked hard, PVA, you all worked hard, bargaining team, but I can't stomach this tiered furlough system. All the rest of the things, the rest of the cuts, as painful as they are, I can deal with, but that I cannot stand. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Yes.
Yeah. I strongly agree with what Mr. Pantera said. I've asked a lot of questions about these furlough days, and they have not sat well with me either. I've gotten emails, I've talked to people, and equity is valued in our district. And if we are giving a certain subset of teachers extra furlough days, that is not equity. How do those people feel? Like, I understand that if I was sitting in that amongst you and I had 2 extra furlough days and the person sitting next to me, I would not feel valued. I would feel like my position maybe wasn't as important, or maybe I wasn't as important, and that's not true. We can't run this district without each and every person. And educators do take the brunt of things. And I know that if gifted specialists and speech and language pathologists and all these other educators have less days at the beginning of the school year, they're still going to teach. I mean, not teach, they're still going to work unpaid, because that's who we are as teachers and as human beings. And I want us to remain paradise. I do value this process. I've asked a lot of questions about the process. But if we lose some of these people, if we are marked as a district that doesn't value our employees equally, then who are we? And I agree with Mr. Pantera.
Thank you.
I agree with everything else, just not the extra furlough days.
Right, any other, yes, Mrs. Christensen?
As part of this process, I do understand that salaries and expenses are in M&O, which is maintenance and operation. And then we have bonds, we have overrides, we have district additional systems. So it's a very archaic system, just the different buckets. That has nothing to do with us here. That's how the legislature and the state funds education. But my frustration is I feel that we keep making the same bad decisions over and over again, and we're still where we were several years ago. Our teachers are still not paid well. I think another way to get money into the district is to focus on things that will bring families back to our district and making decisions that will help people come back. I know a lot of people have gone to other districts, and I would like to see those families come back. And in order to do that, parents and teachers have to partner with one another to support, because the most important thing is our children, and we need dollars in the classroom. We need more money in the pockets of teachers, and that is why I know that I'm really nitpicky about the finances, and not everything's an M&O, but when my family hit hard times, we had to cut out things, and districts have to do that, and we just really need to take a hard look at it as to how we are making these decisions. And like I said earlier, what we value, we put time and money in, and I really wish in the future we would show our teachers, show our students that we do value them by putting more in the pockets of the teachers. And I understand that the funds are not there right now, but it may take several years. But we have to start making difficult decisions now in order to bring some of those students back, in order to, make some hard decisions. And for instance, travel. That is a little pet peeve of mine. And I get that it's a benefit from travel, and we spend, just recently hundreds of thousands of dollars on travel, where I value continuing education, and I get that it's a perk, but all those things add up. All of them add up. Some of them are an M&O, some of them are bonds and overrides, so you can't change it. It's just frustrating, and sometimes I feel like we're up here not part of the process. And I'm happy that there's bargaining and committees and things like that, because everybody, all you teachers, the students, the parents, they need a voice, and we need to listen to that. But maybe we need to start doing things a little bit different to find a way to make those changes.
Any other comments? Mrs. Greenberg?
Having sat here through the recession, having walked downtown during Red for Ed, it's difficult to figure out how we have to keep cutting when we are sitting on a surplus of over $2 billion, which unfortunately will not likely be there given the actions of the legislature during the last session that has put less dollars into the general fund through the flat tax, and has put more dollars into private schools through vouchers. And we in public district schools are feeling all of that, and we have all of the time. We keep electing individuals downtown who, at least as far as it seems, most of the majority does not value public education, and we keep having to make do with, quite honestly, the scraps. I mean, I've advocated for public education for at least a couple decades now, more. And for example, we'll have a discussion of, well, it's never enough money, so what's enough? Well, we're what, $5,000 below the national average on a per pupil basis. So you say, okay, we'd like to at least get to the national average, and that's poo-pooed by the individuals who can make the decision to get us there. So it's difficult to then have to come back and look at what we have, try and figure out what we can do, not knowing what the legislature is doing, not knowing when they're going to, whether it's going to hit June 31. Because, yeah, I remember when they closed the door and basically pulled the batteries out of the clock or whatever it was and pretended that it was still June 30th before they came up with a budget. None of us are happy with this. I don't see anybody in this room who's, doing cartwheels over this. We are asked to trust the process, and we are asked to make decisions based on the information we have. I agree that it would be preferable to be given something to vote on that does not appear to create division because of what some positions or some employees are being asked to accept in their contracts. But we're not in the room, and I don't know what else was discussed. I don't know what other options were presented. So part of me says if this isn't a great one, but perhaps it's just the best of the bad that were the options. And what disturbs me most is the 57% ratification vote. It is still a majority vote. It's not a great majority, and it's the smallest, I believe, since Mrs. Case and I have been on the board, if ever, someone said.
It's true.
So I'm not happy with this, but I don't know what else, and I don't know if I'm allowed to ask what else. I mean,
Well, we could ask the teams maybe to go back and look at the one issue of the furloughs. Just that one issue. Maybe spread that out more evenly. Leave everything else intact, but look maybe a different way of doing those furloughs. That'd be something I would consider.
I guess the question I would ask is, was that considered?
The bargaining teams have brought to you a recommendation. If you choose to vote no, contracts will not go out tomorrow.
So what is the time frame in which contracts must go out?
Dr. Holmes, we have a statutory contract date of May 1st, and we have 15 days to get it back. We are one of the later districts to get contracts out. And it's always preferable as an employer to get those out and back before teachers leave for summer.
But there is still time. If it's May 1st.
We'd have
Well,
to go by a next
We,
board meeting.
we would have to come back to the board for approval. So the next board meeting would be May 4th. So assuming we could do it on that kind of a timeline, we would definitely be into the summer before the 15 days on contracts.
But there are.
It would be beyond May 1st.
Go ahead, Mrs. Christensen.
So I wanted to correct a couple of things that Mrs. Greenberg said. We don't have vouchers in the state. We have an empowerment scholarship account, and that's one of the things that a lot of people talk about equity in this district. I'm a Latina, right? Those scholarship accounts are going to all types of individuals, and they are because of some of the decisions that the districts are making. And that was one of the things I was alluding to, is getting back to academic achievement, merit. Last year when I was running, I talked to I knocked everybody's door. I didn't just knock certain people, and everybody, the number one thing that they wanted is academic achievement, to see our test scores go. It didn't matter what their political background was. Everybody wanted to see that. And that was why some of the people have left our district. The other thing that I would like to point out is that Superintendent Tom Horn and Matt Gress had a bill, and I guess it wasn't perfect, $10,000 teacher raise across, no questions asked. And not one Democrat voted for that. And so it's not a bipartisan thing. And so I think that everybody wants to see teacher salaries be increased in this district. But again, it has to be multifaceted. We have to make changes to some of the things that we're doing, and we have to, maybe cut back on other things that are maybe not essential.
I'd like to make a comment. There's been some things said that I'd like to make a differ from. One word was said, there was an error by giving teachers more money. Let me preface that. It's more money was given to teachers than we had for the future. So there was an accounting error. It wasn't an error to give more teachers. We want to give more money to teachers. That is not anybody up here. That is our goal. But because of COVID money, it got confused. So I wanted to just preface that a little bit. So in other words, when we thought we had more funds, we gave it to the teachers. That is what we did, because that is where our heart lies. My heart has lied there for years. It has been there for years. But with that being said, do we disagree with the process that we have been committed to? Do we not go with the process that this district has bragged about for years? Do we not go with them coming together and in bargaining and representing their groups? All of those words, I'm not saying I agree with the end results. I'm not saying that at all, but I agree with the process of reaching it. And so I'm going to call for a vote, but I want to say that my goal and my hope is that we will take all of those things away. In the bargaining, it is there. We all voted for those, that the 4 days reduced to 3, to reduced to 2, to taken to 1, to 0. We don't want teachers to have that. I promise. None of us do. But do we disregard the process that everyone has loved for years? And the problem is, if we don't settle this now, we push into the summer with contracts. There's not time to change it. It's hard to change things that take so long to get there. I'm sorry. I'm going to call for a vote, and then we'll go from there. We have a roll
Other
call vote.
comment
Yeah,
before that?
we all want to discuss more.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you about the process, and I very much believe in the process. But this is the process. It's not ended until both sides ratify the agreement. And here we're talking about ratifying it on our side of it. They
Okay.
had their vote. Now it's time for us to have our vote. So I believe in the process 100%.
Okay.
All I'm talking about is one thing, instead of this tiered furlough it, make it even so everybody's furloughed the same amount somehow. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Another comment, Mrs. Christensen?
I just also wanted to correct one of your statements, President Greenberg, that
Who?
the reason, I'm sorry.
Me? Or, yeah. You said
Case, I apologize, President Case. So the reason we had a $14 million budget deficit was because we took temporary funds that were from the federal government when we had an influx of ESSER. And then that was from federal. And then the governor's office, Governor Ducey, also had some employee stabilization grant. And we were anticipating people to come back to our district. That did not happen. We also failed to move that in those temporary funds into maintenance and operation. That's why we had the issue. And so that's why I'm saying there's a lot of things, there was a lot of moving parts as to how we got here. And we just need to do a better job of managing things in the future.
Thank you.
Well,
Yes.
um,
I'm sorry, Mary.
when I spoke earlier, I left one thing out that I wanted to say, and that was the reason we're all really here is the students. And when we have our best teachers and our teachers feel valued, we have the best student outcomes. And I just want to remind everyone that that's why we're here, and we need the best of the best to stay here and not leave because they don't feel valued, because we will have better student outcomes that way.
Mrs. Greenberg?
Yes, I'd like to just point out a couple things in regard to what Mrs. Christensen said. The bill that was intending to provide teachers with $10,000 was doing exactly what we are being asked not to do, which was differentiating among teachers. It did not go to every certified teacher. And if I recall, it was one-time money, so it was not going to go to the base. It was basically a 10K bonus for a certain number of teachers in the state, which, yay, that would have been great, but it was still not equitable. The empowerment scholarship accounts, we sure will call them ESAs, but I do want to remind people that when they became basically universal, there was quite a bit of data that showed that the individuals who received them, who started applying for them, were already individuals who had their students in private schools for the most part. And it was not at that point taking students from public schools primarily. So I just wanted to point those two pieces out.
We need to have the vote because
Okay,
we're
but
going off the subject here.
This is important. We sit here and rubber stamp everything that comes through all the time. And this is an important discussion for our teachers and for our students. So we're going to take the time to discuss this. And I'm sorry, Mrs. Case, but these are difficult decisions and we don't always agree on everything, but we have to have these difficult discussions in order to get to where we need to go for our students, for our teachers. So I wanted to make a point about the ESSER funds because I've been doing research on that. And now, if you look at the data, most currently, they are going to people in need. They are going to Hispanics and Latinos. If you just need to take a look at the new stuff because there are other individuals that are being helped by this, and that helps with equality for all children.
Are there any other comments? Okay. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Baker,
Nay.
Mrs. Greenberg,
I'm going to abstain for the moment.
Mrs. Christensen,
Nay.
Mrs. Case,
I'm going to vote aye because of the process and I with reservation.
Mr. Pantera.
Nay.
The motion fails. Dr. Holmes?
Madam President, members of the board, we have for your consideration the 2023-24 Education Support Professional Bargaining Agreement. Changes are reflected in the memorandums of agreement and were developed through the interest-based negotiations process. Additionally, language cleanup such as dates and minor clarifications are highlighted throughout the agreement. PVSEA members have ratified the agreement and we recommend your approval.
May I have a motion to approve the changes and or additions to the ASP bargaining agreement for 2023 as presented?
So moved.
Any board members wishing to make a comment? May I please have a roll call vote?
Mrs. Baker,
Yay.
Mrs. Greenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Christensen,
Aye.
Mrs. Case,
Aye.
Mr. Pantera.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Dr. Holmes?
Madam President, members of the board, we have for your consideration the 2023-2024 Executive Support Staff Bargaining Agreement. Changes are reflected in the memorandum of agreement and developed with the input of the group. Additionally, there is one minor change highlighted on page 8 related to retirement. We recommend your approval.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the changes and or additions to the Executive Assistant Bargaining Agreement for the 2024 as presented?
So moved.
Any board member wishing to make a comment? May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Baker,
Aye.
Mrs. Greenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Christensen,
Aye.
Mrs. Case,
Aye.
Mr. Pantera.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Dr. Holmes?
Madam President, members of the board, we have for your consideration the 2023-2024 Paradise Valley Principals Bargaining Agreement. Changes are reflected in the memorandum of agreement and were developed with the input of the group. We recommend your approval.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the changes and or additions to the PVP bargaining agreement for the 2023-24 as presented?
So moved.
Any board member wishing to make a comment? May I please have a roll call vote?
Mrs. Baker,
Aye.
Mrs. Greenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Christensen,
Aye.
Mrs. Case,
Aye.
Mr. Pantera.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Dr. Holmes?
Madam President, members of the board, we have for your consideration the 2023-2024 Central Office Administrators Bargaining Agreement. Changes are reflected in the memorandum of agreement and developed with the input of the group. Also, the addition of the Director of Federal Grants position is noted on page 3 as a result of collapsing Title I Coordinator and Director of Language Acquisition positions. And we recommend your approval.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the changes and or additions to the COA bargaining agreement for the 2023-24 as presented?
So moved.
Any board member wishing to make a comment? May I please have a roll call vote?
Mrs. Baker,
Aye.
Mrs. Greenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Christensen,
Aye.
Mrs. Case,
Aye.
Mr. Pantera.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Dr. Holmes?
Madam President, members of the board, we have for your consideration the 2023-2024 Cabinet Level Administrators Bargaining Agreement. Changes are reflected in the memorandum of agreement and developed with the input of the group. We recommend your approval.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the changes and or additions to the Cabinet Bargaining Agreement for the 2023-24 as presented?
So moved.
Any board members wishing to make a comment? May I please have a roll call vote?
Mrs. Baker,
Aye.
Mrs. Greenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Christensen,
Aye.
Mrs. Case,
Aye.
Mr. Pantera.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda, Dr. Bells.
President Case, Government members, cabinet and guests, and tonight we present for approval a credit card in Marcom, including the purpose, parameters, and the checks and balances. Ms. Berrigan will explain the recommendation.
Thank you, Dr. Bales, President Case, and Governing Board. Our marketing department utilizes a number of vendors that manage our district website and social media. Most of these or many of these vendors do not accept POs. And so while the vendors may not accept a PO, the PO process is still followed when using a credit card. And it goes through the proper workflow with budget approval and submission of an internal PO. The credit card would only be used for pre-authorized purchases and will be reconciled monthly by finance. The district's credit card process is rigorous and highly audited, and I'd be happy to answer any questions for you.
May I have a motion to approve the new credit card to be issued to the Director of Marketing and Communications, Matt Drudge, for fiscal year 2023?
So moved.
Any board members wishing to make a comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is 6, and we couldn't do that tonight because there had to be some paperwork changes. Next is consideration to approval to renew existing PB contract
2209 PB for employee staffing and leaseback.
President
Over to
Case,
Dr. Bells.
thank you. My apologies for interrupting you. Tonight, we present for approval an existing contract for employee staffing and leaseback. Dr. Holmes will explain.
Thank you, Ms. Berrigan.
I'm going to start that one. Dr. Bales, thank you, President Case and governing board members. This contract was originally awarded by the board a year ago. It's the second annual renewal for a potential 5-year contract. The awarded list of vendors provides similar services associated with recruiting and hiring qualified employees. These vendors are available for the use of the district as well as other entities that are current members of the 1GPA cooperative. The district currently contracts with 2 of the firms, ESI and International
Alliance Group.
Thank you, Alliance Group. It's written wrong on here. The estimated annual spend for these services is $3 million. Should the board approve the renewal of the contract, the district will have the option to continue working with these firms. And I think Dr. Holmes has a little bit more on the actual use of these services.
I was just going to add that the specifically ESI is the contract agency that we use to manage our phased retirement. So that is approximately, I believe it's 35 employees that we hire through them. And then the International Alliance Group is the company that we use to manage our J1 visa, our teachers who are here on J1 visas.
Thank you. It used to go by a different name.
Yes.
And that name was?
It actually used to be a part of ESI.
ESI.
Yes.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the renewal of existing PV contract 2209 PV for employee staffing and leaseback?
So moved.
Are there any questions or anybody who wants to make a comment from the board?
Can you explain a little bit more about this one, either Mr. Holmes or Mrs.
Sure. Do you have a
Bergen?
specific question?
It's more on how we do contracts. I know I've gone round and round on, I'm not a fan of job order contracts. We don't get requests for proposals. Anything under 3 million can just be slid in. And I also would like to know how we pick these vendors. I know that with 1GPA, PV is the lead on this consortium, and some of the smaller districts help. I mean, some of the smaller districts will be able to come on board. We're the lead, and we pick the vendors. But for instance, one of the vendors that seems like it's always on there, I feel like the roofing has a monopoly. We have that progressive roofing, and we don't. I mean, it's just job order contracts, and so I want more information on just how we pick those vendors, and when are they going to be up for renewal?
Ms. Berrigan?
Yeah, Dr. Bales and President Case, this isn't a job order contract. This is for staffing services.
We're on 7.
My apologies. I was looking at the wrong agenda item.
Okay.
This was previously known as Smart Schools. That was the name I was trying to get you to say. I left my brain
Sorry.
there.
Yes,
Sorry.
that's correct.
It was previously known as Smart Schools, and this actually saves us money in doing this. So, okay. Any other comments? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Now we are on 8. Gifts and donations.
No.
No. No, they switched up here.
Restroom upgrades.
Yeah, but she switched it. Okay. So, excuse me, consideration to approve purchase from current PV contract 18-15 PV JOC for restroom upgrades for Cactus View ES. Dr. Bells.
Thank you, President Case, governing board members, cabinet, and guests. A couple of times this spring, we have presented refresh projects for restroom renovations through the 2019 voter-approved bond dollars. Tonight, we present for approval such a project at Cactus View Elementary as an opportunity to inform the board with answers to questions that were recently posed by the board and community. Ms. Berrigan?
Thank you, Dr. Bales, President Case, and Governing Board. The scope of this project is an upgrade and bringing up to code all student and staff restrooms at Cactus View Elementary School. This will include millwork with solid surface countertops, ceiling of tile, epoxy flooring, painting, caulking, installing new toilet partitions and accessories, and upgrading the plumbing and electrical systems. Current restroom facilities are over 10 years old. The procurement used for this project is the current general contractor JOC 18-15 PV, and the proposal was generated using open book pricing. The fees and soft costs include insurance, warranties, payment and performance bond, builder's risk, taxes, and construction fee. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
May I have a motion to approve purchase from current PV contract 18-15 PV JOC for restroom upgrades at Cactus View Elementary?
So moved.
Are there any board members wishing to make a comment? Mrs. Christensen?
Yes. And I know that this is just refresh. In the future, we really, and I feel like a broken record, we really need to start making some major changes in the restroom situation to make sure all of our children are safe. And I know that this is not what this is, but it's one of those things that I was talking about before was the decisions that the district makes to make all our children feel safe, regardless of who they are. Things like that would go a long way to bringing kids and families back to our district.
President Case.
Yes, this
Mrs.
is.
Christensen, just wanted to follow up. We've had a nice, rich discussion recently about this, and we are planning to offer that opportunity for the board to receive more information about a different restroom footprint. We have that on the agenda for May 4th, tentatively to have that. That's our next board meeting. So we'll give you some more information both prior to that and an opportunity for the board to talk about that because I did want to follow up with you on that.
Thank you. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Motion passes with 4 ayes and 1 abstention. Next on the agenda is gifts and donations. We have many donations made to the district. We are grateful for each and every one, and I'd like to mention a few tonight. At Copper Canyon, the PTO there gave $1,000 for copy paper. At Desert Shadows Middle School, Progression Marketing gave $3,000 for school use in furnitures, etc. At Desert Trails Elementary School, the PTO gave $1,800 for trash cans. At Echo Mountain Intermediate School, Dorito Partners gave $1,000 to the school store being Kind store. At Greyhawk Elementary School, the PTO there gave $1,500 for the 5th grade field trip. At Horizon High School, Raquel Kimball gave $1,000 for the Person of Character Scholarship. At Quail Run Elementary School, their PTA gave $5,600 for a ball pit for the playground. At Paradise Valley Unified School District, Yvonne Adam gave a Red Gates Trainer Mustang by R82 $10,000 for PT use. And at Sky Crossing Elementary, the PTO gave $30,000 for an outdoor classroom shade structure. We thank all of these people and companies for giving
these donations and many others that I did not mention. May I have a motion for the acceptance of gifts and donations, please?
So moved.
Any board member wishing to make a comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is items for discussion. Dr. Bells.
Thank you, President Case, governing board members, cabinet, and guests. Tonight, Dr. Corson and his team will present for first reading the recommended gifted curriculum resource adoption. There will be no vote necessary as it's just a first reading. Dr. Corson.
Well, good evening, President Case, governing board members, Dr. Bales, cabinet, and guests. As Dr. Bales mentioned, tonight is a first reading for the K-6 Gifted Curriculum Resource Adoption. As a reminder, this adoption results from a committee process of teachers, administrators, and parents evaluating multiple curriculum resources and considering community feedback from a 60-day public viewing. The curriculum being recommended tonight are for all K-6 ELA and math comprehensive content replacement gifted classrooms. Our gifted education director, Karen Brown, and our gifted program mentor, Elizabeth Warner, are here to present the proposed adoption and answer your questions.
Thank you for the opportunity to share with you. This evening, we'll be walking through the process followed in recommending a renewal of current curriculum resources and the adoption of a new resource to support gifted learners. It has been a number of years since the curriculum utilized by the gifted department was reviewed. It was time for us to revisit the materials to ensure that they continue to meet the needs of our learners. This was done using the adoption committee process. Tonight is the first reading of the proposed adoption. A strong stakeholder group was identified to vet the curriculum and resources. As part of this vetting process, the committee viewed the material through several lenses: how the materials align to the Arizona state standards, the skill set that gifted learners bring to the learning environment, as well as the level of cognitive demand these learners take and make on the curriculum. It was the recommendation of the committee to recommit to these materials and to adopt the math curriculum currently used in 6th through 8th grade for the gifted learners K-5. The identified materials will be utilized with our content replacement students in grades 4 through 6, both in reading and in mathematics, as well as students in the comprehensive gifted program, formerly known as self-contained, K-6. Students in these programs are taught by a gifted specialist. During the 60-day community review, materials were available electronically and in hard copy in the lobby of the district office. The lobby was open from 6 to 7:30 before the board meetings during the months of February and March. QR codes were used to gather input from community members. We received 6 comments during the 60-day committee review. 4 comments were submitted by teachers and 2 comments were provided by a community member. This feedback was reviewed by the committee, the concerns were addressed, and clarifications made. We are aware that a number of our gifted families looked at the materials but did not leave feedback, as they are familiar with and pleased with our current curriculum choices. Our gifted program mentor, Mrs. Warner, will share details about each of the materials up for review.
Good evening. The Gifted Curriculum Adoption Committee utilized a rubric to focus the materials on a vetting process, to vet the process in the following key areas: alignment to the Arizona State ELA standards, comprehensiveness of the materials and supplemental resources, ease of differentiation and scaffolding to address student need and rate, reading selections that were appropriate for gifted learners, and a quality professional development for our teachers. The PV Gifted Reading Curriculum provides a multifaceted approach that includes literature, vocabulary, and grammar. The curriculum is aligned with the Arizona State and National Association of Gifted Children standards, ensuring that students are learning skills and knowledge they need for their individual readiness and pace. The ELA curriculum is used in hard copy format only. The reading curriculum utilizes complex text that are age appropriate while challenging students to engage in critical thinking and literature analysis. In addition to literature, the curriculum also focuses on vocabulary and grammar, providing students with the tools they need to communicate effectively and articulate their ideas clearly. The interconnectedness of the reading curriculum is designed to challenge and engage our students, preparing these students for success in middle school, high school, college, and beyond. Junior Great Books is a highly regarded gifted reading curriculum. Junior Great Books provides an increased level of reading complexity through short stories that are developmentally appropriate for our gifted learners. Junior Great Books is built on a shared inquiry approach to literary analysis. The shared inquiry model encourages students to think deeply about the text they read and participate in meaningful discussions with their peers. Junior Great Books provides a rigorous and engaging approach to literary analysis while promoting critical thinking. The College of William and Mary Language Arts curriculum equips our learners to enhance their literary analysis, interpretation of text, and reasoning skills. The curriculum is designed to engage students in the exploration of carefully selected and challenging literary works, encouraging learners to reflect on their reading through writing and discussion. This curriculum provides gifted learners with opportunities to explore interdisciplinary connections where students can deepen their understanding of various subjects and broaden their perspectives. The elementary document-based mini question curriculum offers our 5th, 5th, and 6th grade comprehensive gifted classrooms with the opportunity to interact with text in a way that resembles the skills the students will need in middle school, high school, and beyond. These skills include citing evidence to support their arguments and analyze text in to form a well-reasoned and well-supported opinion. In addition, the document-based question format is imperative for students who plan to take multiple AP courses in high school. This curriculum format is the same that they will encounter in AP coursework and AP exams. The Michael Clay Thompson vocabulary and grammar materials offer several benefits to gifted learners. Students develop a deeper understanding of the English language and its origins by studying Greek and Latin roots. This knowledge is essential for students who plan to pursue careers in academic and scientific fields and allows for exponential vocabulary growth. These vocabulary and grammar materials are designed to challenge students who have mastered basic reading skills and are ready for more advanced linguistic and vocabulary development. The Michael Clay Thompson curriculum supports differentiated experiences, allowing students to engage with materials at their own pace and rate. The inquiry-based model encourages students to ask questions and explore grammar and vocabulary in great depth. Wordly Wise is an effective vocabulary program used in our comprehensive gifted K-6 classrooms. Wordly Wise provides direct academic vocabulary instruction to develop the critical link between vocabulary and reading comprehension. Wordly Wise offers a robust, differentiated reading activities that meet the varying needs of our gifted learners. The differentiated activities include student analysis of writing selection, word choice examination, and word roots to promote a deeper understanding of academic vocabulary. The adoption committee also used a rubric to focus on vetting the process on the following key areas in regard to the proposed math curriculum: alignment to the Arizona State math standards, quality and comprehensiveness of the materials and the supplemental resources, the ease of differentiation, allowing for scaffolding to address student need, pace, and pacing options. More specifically, we looked at how the curriculums address mathematical gaps that are often caused by the intuitive jumps of gifted children, and of course, the quality professional development available to our teachers. The Gifted Curriculum Adoption Committee recognized that it is essential for gifted learners to have access to a high-quality math curriculum that is aligned with their individual learning needs. The committee is recommending Open Up Resource Mathematics as a single K-8 math curriculum for gifted learners in our district. The Open Up Mathematics curriculum offers a consistent and coherent learning experience that builds on a children's previous knowledge and prepares them for more advanced mathematical skills. Open Up K-5 Mathematics stands out in several ways. It challenges students by helping them see themselves as capable math learners. The curriculum promotes rigor and perseverance through mathematical discourse. It is designed to tell a coherent mathematical story that builds across units and grade levels. The coherence guides students to see the connections between the mathematical concepts and encourages the development of deeper understanding of mathematics overall. It is also rooted in the 8 mathematical practices, ensuring a comprehensive approach to mathematical instruction. More importantly, this math curriculum balances problem solving with the development of conceptual understanding. Units are driven by inquiry-based investigations with a focus on developing strong reasoning skills.
The recommended ELA curricular materials are not new to our gifted programming, and therefore no additional expense for these materials will be incurred. Open Up Mathematics is currently approved for use in grades 6 through 8. Based on the committee's recommendation, we would like to extend the Open Up curriculum to include our gifted students in grades K-5. The cost of $16,544 will be incurred to allow the purchase of teachers' editions for grades K-5. This number reflects the number of gifted specialists and K-3 comprehensive gifted teachers who would need this material. Gifted specialists had the opportunity to explore the Open Up materials over the past few months. A training utilizing the Open Up curriculum, specifically the differentiated learning centers, was provided on February 28th, our early release day. Targeted professional learning opportunities have been planned in collaboration with Open Up resource training teams for our gifted specialists this summer. Thank you for your support as we seek to provide the best and most appropriate learning materials for our gifted learners. We would be happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Thank you. I do. We have 2 blue cards. We'll hear from Lily. Great. Oh, she left? Okay, then we will hear from Nicole Klutwick. Closer.
Hi, this is Nicole Klutwick. I know most of you. Thank you so much for your patience in listening to me. I know it's been a very long and hard night. So I also reviewed the gifted information. I did not submit a comment card because I was assured that one of the pieces, which I was really surprised is back on here, the elementary document-based questions. I don't know if you recall, but document-based questions, also referred to as DBQs, that curriculum had been rejected just a couple years ago because it had presented a lot of subject matter that was extremely political, and it was kind of a Trojan horse for sensitive, controversial political topics, and it was rejected because of that. This is the same publisher, not the same curriculum. It's not currently being used in, which is noted here, previously used but withdrawn in 2021. Anyway, when the information, the DBQs, was out for us to look at it, I was specifically told that 2 lessons were removed because they didn't pass the vetting. And what I'm noticing here is nobody's removing those from what's being approved. It's a blanket approval. Nobody's saying lessons 1 through 5 or anything else. And so I'm a little concerned that we are being asked as a board, you are being asked as a board to pass something that has not been looked at by parents or vetted by parents because it was specifically removed from the books that were set out on the tables. So either that's because it's just not appropriate and shouldn't be recommended at all, or it should be notated here that that's not an approved lesson and should not be used. I don't know what the disconnect is, but there's something disconnected. And I am a parent of 3 boys who all went through the gifted. And let me just say, most of this curriculum here is phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. Great books, Caesar's English, all of these are just, I'm like literally getting goosebumps thinking about what an asset and what a benefit they were to my children and how much I love them and how much I love the gifted teachers who taught my children. but I don't believe that a blanket approval of these DBQs, which we've previously rejected, is appropriate here. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm happy to clarify, we purposely removed two particular pieces that we did not feel would meet the vetting process. We are happy to, there is no intent to have those materials in any of our classrooms. Those two particular units have been removed from all of the materials that would be accessed by our students. And we are happy to identify those specific units for you. But there is no intent to include those in any of the materials that we share and utilize within our classrooms.
So just to clarify, Karen, the materials that were on display are the materials only available to teachers should it be approved?
Correct.
Thank you.
Also, there is nothing online. I'd ask you that question, but I'll ask that again for the public. There's nothing online in any of this.
So there's nothing online in the ELA curriculum. Open Up Resources does have.
For the math.
For the math, yes.
Okay, but for
nothing
the
in the
social
ELA.
studies, there's nothing.
Our students don't get social studies from the gifted department, so all of our materials are English language materials. So even the document-based questions, the nonfiction test, it is all utilized as reading materials to support the learners in understanding how to read critically, how to do literary analysis.
Okay. I'm going to have some more questions later. Does any board member want to make a comment?
Clarifying question. I was hearing you say that it's not online. Is that just not online for review? How do you remove it if it's in a book? Are these lessons online?
No. It is in a binder, and each unit can be removed from the binder. So it's not in a book per se.
Any other comments?
Well, I've used these myself as a teacher, and I love the Caesar's English and all these other ones. Some of them are a little new that I haven't used, but if they're the same as we've used before, I'm 100%. And the ones I've seen, in the office here, they were great. So thank you.
Okay. I have some comments. Anne, did you have a comment? Go ahead.
I just want to
Mrs.
say that my heart sang when I heard the term coherent mathematical story, and I really appreciate the verbiage. Thank you.
So much of our curriculum comes to be because of the Arizona state standards. So my beef is really with them and not with this district. It's also with publishers and not with this district. Okay, so I'm going to ask some hard questions here. But I do want to ask about math. Is it done so it's 1 year ahead? That's how it was when my kids went through. Is it 1 year ahead of what the classroom is doing? Is that how it happens?
So in content replacement, the students work a year ahead. In our comprehensive gifted classrooms, which previously called self-contained, students may be 2 years ahead of grade level.
Oh, okay. So it can vary there.
Depending on the student.
On the student. Okay. So, okay. And so it was once called, formerly called self-contained. It's called what now?
Now we just refer to it as a comprehensive program.
Comprehensive program. Okay. So let me ask my question because, I just think, can you still hear me now? I'll pick that up later. Sorry. My glasses. Okay. So let me just, the classes where the kids are in the same classroom with the same teacher all day for everything. Okay. How many schools do we have involved in that now?
That at 5 different sites right now.
Okay. So 5 different sites. So that's a chunk of kids it used to be called self-contained and now it's not. I'll call it self-contained.
Not a problem.
Just it's too hard to remember the new. Okay. So they have to have some form of social studies. And that's what the DBQs are to take care of? No.
Their social studies aligns with the Arizona state standards for social studies. They are learning what is lined on grade level and is taught in all of the other gen ed classrooms. They just go much deeper into that content.
Okay. So those newspaper things, these self-contained would be using those. Okay, because I did not vote for that when we had that. Okay, so as I was going through the, is it DBQ, is that what they're called?
Document-based questions?
Yes.
Mhm.
So what part of the classroom time would they use with those?
Those are utilized during their reading as they're looking at evaluating text and then being able to write, pulling out evidence to support an opinion, to be able to support a question that they might have been asked. So it's really used more in their ELA, their English Language Arts time. There may be a correlation between potentially something that is referenced in that and something that they're doing in social studies, but they aren't designed to be aligned together.
Okay, okay, because I have those books at home right now and I've been going through them. And yes, there were sections. I kept counting the number of pictures on the front and what sections, and they were taken out. So the teachers will never receive them.
They will not receive them.
Okay, and how do the students receive? They don't receive the notebook. Only the
Oh.
teacher does.
Only the teacher receives the notebook. The students have specific elements, and basically they are graphic organizers for the students to use to organize the information that's presented to them. They may receive a primary document that they're going to look at. But they
Okay.
don't receive, the notebook doesn't belong to the students. It's only used by the teacher.
And then she Xeroxes things that she wants them, because I read all of Valley Forge today and I read all about, it was very interesting. Okay, so, but as I read through them, I thought, wait a minute, if this is the only history they're getting,
Not.
it's just picking little parts out. And that's what my concern was, because history should be taught as a story. It should go from beginning to the next step, to the next step, to the next step.
It is
And
not.
that's not doing this.
It is not a science. It is not a social studies curriculum. It is not designed as a social studies curriculum, and it is used as part of our English language arts. They are used as nonfiction reading type materials for
Okay,
the students to explore and then be able to write based on.
okay, because some of these are really fascinating. So, thank you. Are there any other questions? Comments? Thank you for your presentation. We really appreciate it. Before we adjourn, I would like to remind you that the next regular board meeting will be held Thursday, May 4th at 7 p.m. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. I didn't say nay.